the Reckless Wiz podcast. My co-hosts today are Lily Lopez and Kane.
What's up, everybody?
And our special guest is comedian Chris Estrada.
What's up, guys? How you guys doing? Thanks for having me.
How do you feel about people saying comedian before your name like that?
I feel like I say it because I feel like I still feel like, oh, no one knows me, so I always have to go comedian Chris Estrada. I always say that. I go, let them know, because people,
Comedian Chris Estrada.
And I don't assume that anybody knows. Like, cause one time I remember one time somebody heckled me, and they were like, this was someone told me, what do you do? And then I was like, oh, I'm a comedian. They're like, I never heard of you. And then I said, bitch, my mom's never heard of Jerry Seinfeld. Doesn't mean he's not a comedian.
True,
yeah.
Like,
if I didn't know who you were, I would think we were all just y'all were cousins.
Yeah, we're all family.
I'm like, so
yeah.
this guy your cousin?
Yeah.
I guess calling myself a comedian is okay, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like it's,
That's
other
what you
people
do.
do it.
Well, with stand-up, it's like they give you the title day one. Your first time at open mic, they introduce you as, all right, this next comic coming to the stage.
It's one
they
of those.
Don't say, they're
it's
not.
It's a title that you kind of just have to take.
Yeah.
Or do you just take or don't?
Yeah, I wonder if it's like we do this for a title. Like, do you feel like a part of this is like, this is an identity? This is what I wanted to do? Or
Most worthless identity ever. Retarded identity.
The self-awareness, though, that's important.
Yeah, most worthless identity.
Yeah.
I should have been a plumber. That's what I should have done. You do more for society.
trade.
Yeah.
You do more for society.
You really do.
Yeah.
Plumbers got to listen to something, though, you know?
Yeah, that's true. They listen to music.
Yeah. They don't listen to comedy.
They don't.
I think though, like you're more than a comedian. You're a writer. I love this fool.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Truly I hadn't laughed that hard. I think like it brought my inner child out a little.
Oh, I appreciate that.
I love all the cultural references and nuances. So
thanks.
Yeah, I know you talked a little bit about that with the previous episode you were on, but that's worth mentioning. I think writer's one of those things too. One of those titles you like claim it or you don't, or you're just gonna be shy about it your whole life.
Yeah, I feel like comedians write though, like all comedians. Even if you're not a writer, like you write jokes, Yeah, even if you write on stage,
Yeah, but like writing is this the thing that you wanted to do originally?
Originally, I wanted to write. I wanted to be a comic. I was just too scared to do it, and then I thought, I'll just write, and I was like, but I was just like writing on my own, like not, I didn't have like a entertainment job,
Yeah.
I was just like practicing, and then, but then it's hard to get in. Like I didn't go to film school or college, so I was like, man, how do you get into TV writing? And then I just said, fuck it, I'm gonna start stand up, and then I started stand up, and then from there, that's how it happened.
That's a big launch pad for a lot of writers and creatives.
Yeah, I'll start stand ups.
Yeah.
A lot of them, like a lot of people start as like stand up comedians, and then they realize they're probably better writers or whatever.
Multi-hyphenate.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was watching, it's like a documentary at the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
Where they had, I think we were talking about it recently too. About I saw Michael Keaton was on there. He started off as like a regular stand-up. And the joke that they showed of his was a really funny joke.
Good. Yeah, you forget
like,
that fool was Michael Keaton of all people.
He's
like you forget.
good stand-up,
Yeah.
So how did you get into like the structure and the formatting of writing without going to college for that? Like, was there someone that like showed you the ropes or?
No, not really. I mean, I think I just I would watch a shitload of TV.
Yeah. And
then I wanted to like make stuff, but I was like, I didn't have a camera. I didn't do any of that shit. And then I was like, all right, but I didn't know, like, I ended up like finding scripts online. Like, you would find scripts online. I would read them. I'm like, oh, this is what it looks like.
Yeah.
And then I would like end up like Googling like TV writing books or film writing books, and then I go buy one at Barnes and Noble and read it.
Yeah.
And then go, all right, let me try to write one myself. Like that,
That's really cool. Just all self-taught.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, self-taught. I mean, because I didn't go to college for it or anything. So a lot of it was just being self-taught. Yeah, just reading a shitload. Like reading a shitload of scripts and books about it and shit like that.
That's badass.
Yeah.
That's helped me a lot lately.
Yeah.
I've been reading more scripts. I've been reading one movie called with Andy Samberg in it.
Hot Rod?
Hot Rod.
Oh,
yeah. I've been reading
funny.
that script. It's a really good script. And I never knew that there was a woman who wrote the movie. I can't remember her name, but that's a really good script. I was like, whoa, shit.
Yeah, but it's kind of one of those things where it's like, you know, like if you like comedy, like you should watch comedy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Like, so if you want to write, you should read.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah,
so,
you mentioned that in the first. I'm like, I did my research and listened to the first episode this morning with you guys, so I don't want to overlap too much, but it is interesting to hear people's processes. Yeah, and it's so true. Like being a reader makes you a stronger writer, and watching more comedy, I think, does make you. I feel like it can help you. There's times though where I'm like, I cannot watch comedy right now, or like other stand up specials, because I just want to get these jokes out, and I don't want to be concerned that this person touched on this topic. So am I like ripping it off?
That happens. That happens. Yeah. You just go. And then sometimes you do that shit so much you don't want to fucking think about it.
Yeah.
You know? Like you're just like, after, if you go out and do a bunch of open mics or shows, you're not going home to watch a stand-up special, you know?
Yeah. I've also found too that like watching it sometimes, even if it's subconsciously, like the influence will like rub off on you. And like, I remember, you know, you'll watch a special and like, it won't even be jokes, but just like mannerisms a comic does.
Yeah.
You know, like some comics you'll watch them and like, they pause after a joke and they like look around the room, and then I find myself doing that after a joke, and I'm like, oh fuck, I'm copying. Yeah.
I always used to joke around that I would watch, like, if you would watch like Cedric the Entertainer, and then at the next time I'm doing a show, I have a towel and I'm just like, that ain't right, y'all.
Going into a singing number.
Well, that's
I have a towel with what are those fools have? Yeah, like
insignia on there.
That's how I felt with like sketch writing too. Whenever like I was writing a lot of sketches, and then like I watched I Think You Should Leave. All my sketches after that for like a week were like just way over the top and ridiculous, and I was like, I need to like stop for like a month and come back to this.
Yeah, you gotta find your voice.
Yeah,
you gotta find your own shit. But that, you know, it's good watching shit like that. Yeah. You know. Because then you find out like, oh, I'm being derivative, or like I'm kind of like I'm copying them, and if you're aware of it, you know, you'll stop. But you almost have to kind of copy people first a little bit to then go, oh, that's not what I want to do.
Or that's totally not even me.
Yeah, that's not who I am. You know.
Do you feel? Because I feel like just media in general and TV shows and stuff, everything's changed so much. I've been watching '90s TV a little more recently, and just realizing like the levity of like the laugh track, or you know, the audience laughing. It's just like the content
like
is so
shows and stuff like that.
Exactly. I too did not go to film school, but like I just feel like or maybe the question is, what are some shows, movies, or entertainers from you had growing up, and what are some that are maybe
probably
inspiring
a lot of
you
movies
now?
for me. I think I started before I ever got into comedy. I was just watching movies, you know, like watching like things like Raising Arizona or Fargo, and like movies like what I thought were weird movies, you know, watching shit like that, and then getting into TV and watching TV shows that I like. But I think probably, I don't know, I feel like early on, like watching even silly things like watching Cheers, you know, I was always like, oh, this is a good show. I could, I get a sense of why it's like funny and good.
Yeah.
And like, or, you know, and then when TV started getting more elevated, watching things like The Office or The British Office, like, you know, watching that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh shit, this feels like more elevated TV or whatever. But I think it started with like movies and stuff like that.
For sure.
Yeah. Watching movies, like, kind of watching comedies or like weird kind of indie movies, shit like that. Watching that stuff was big, and then I started like watching comedy from there. But no, SNL. Like I would watch a lot of like,
for sure.
You know, like I don't know how old you guys are, but that kind of the class of SNL I grew up on was that like Will Ferrell, Chris Farley, like
so good.
What's homegirl that would put her hands in her armpit?
Molly Shannon. Love Molly Shannon.
Yeah.
That mid-90s.
Yeah, that kind of mid-90s, the one where they were making everything into a movie.
Yeah.
That kind of like that. And then around the same time, there was another sketch show called Kids in the Hall.
Yeah.
And I feel like Kids in the Hall was probably like, it's probably like Like,
Stephen
I think
Colbert.
you should leave.
Stephen Colbert, right? The
Alt
style.
Yeah, stuff like that. I was watching stuff like that, and then but then also watching other things, like watching stuff on like Latino TV, you know, on like Mexican TV, like watching like I don't know, just silly things like, do you guys remember La Escuelita?
La Escuelita, Sin Censura.
Yeah, Sin Censura, yeah. But La Escuelita was a big one for me, like watching, or like, you remember Dr. Candido Perez?
Do you remember that? On the show?
Yeah. Kinda. And then he had his own show. Like, watching that kind of shit was funny to me. Like, because I watched it and I went, oh, these fools are doing like satire.
Yeah.
Like, it's funny. Like, there was that guy, he's like an old man now, but this fool did a character called El Piruris. He was like supposed to be posh, like a posh Mexican kid, and then he would come in and call everyone knuckles, and like make fun of them for eating frijoles, you know, and stuff like that. And like, he would always come saying that he just came back from Harvard and like and jail, and like, so I was like, oh, this was like a fresa, you know, it was like kind of funny. Like, I got it. Like, I go, I see what he's doing. Like, it's like satire on like those rich kids. You know?
That's so funny. I wanted to kind of like go and ask you guys, and then your perspective on like being raised. Were you raised in LA or
in LA? Yeah, born and raised.
So I always grew up watching like Latino representation. If there was any, it's like Boyle Heights or East LA representation. How did that? Was that y'all's experience too, or? And what would your perspective be? Because I think like a lot of, I mean, obviously Hollywood and everything's coming out or had been coming out of LA for so long. And so the representation of other cultures was very much in LA. Yeah. I was like, I want something else. Like, there's Texans. Texans are so different.
I think that back then I wasn't aware of like, oh, I need to see people like me type of thing, especially when I was younger. I think the thing that really drew me to anything was comedy, funny stuff. You know?
Right.
For sure.
It wasn't until I got older and a little like had a better understanding of like representation and stuff like that. But everything that I saw that had like, you know, Latinos in it or whatever, to me kind of wasn't the best, especially if it was with the intention of being funny. That's why I like the show This Fool so much, you know, because I was like, this is one of the first ones that's actually funny, like it's like good written,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's like when you watch stuff like that, like the grandma bringing out the egg for Olympia and stuff, like that is so culturally specific, but so widely relatable. So I love seeing stuff like that, and it's not like, it's in LA, but it wasn't like, and we're in Boyle Heights, and I'm a cholo, and you know.
Yeah, I think a lot of that stuff is like, I don't know, it wasn't for me. Like, because I think like I didn't grow up in those areas. Like, I didn't grow up in Boyle Heights or East LA, so like, I mean, I grew up in LA, but not those areas. Yeah. So I didn't really like. I was like, oh, that's cool. I'm not from there. So even for me, I was like, that's cool. Like.
That's funny.
But that's not where I'm from. But
that's crazy that you didn't feel that way, like growing up. I guess that's true though. I watched a lot of comedy and SNL as a kid. Yeah. But at some point too, I also was like, I can't really do this. I don't see myself up here. And I felt like a million miles away from LA or Hollywood or like New York.
Well, I was gonna say, you also grew up in a more like Mexican area.
For sure. I'm from the Rio Grande Valley, which is
south of here.
Very south, the southernmost tip of Texas, and like 98% Latino, and like Mexican American, right where Elon Musk is. Did I mention this the other day too? Right where he's colonizing at South Padre Island,
a whole city.
They're like blowing shit up down there, and it's really like disturbing the locals. Huh?
For like SpaceX and
SpaceX, a huge SpaceX launch pad. It's down there.
But I feel like I had like a similar growing up experience, like what you said, where it's like I wasn't aware of like you know, seeing yourself on the screen, stuff like that.
I was hyper aware of not seeing myself on the screen.
I also think I got a lot of it out with watching like Univision.
Same. Because I was watching I was watching like Latino shows like on Spanish TV.
That's cool. So I wasn't really both my parents are. I mean, they speak Spanish, but they were raised, you know, in Texas, so we weren't like really watching Spanish stuff growing. Some novellas here and there, but
we weren't either. But like if I would go to my grandma's, they were always watching novellas. And I have an older sister. She's 4.5 years older than me, and so sometimes she would watch like Rebelde and shit like that.
Yeah.
And she would like I think Menudo had a show at one point too that she was like watching. But yeah, as far as like what I was watching is mainly whatever my sister was watching.
Yeah.
And she just watched a lot of like 90s comedies. So that's how I kind of got into watching comedies.
I remember we only had one TV for like the longest. It was just in the living room. So we would watch just whatever my mom or my dad was watching, right? And we watched a lot of novelas.
Yeah.
It was a thing. We had to sit down. Dos Mujeres Un Camino was one of the main ones I always remember. With Eric Estrada.
Yeah, Eric Estrada.
And Bronco singing.
And Lupe from Bronco.
Lupe,
Yeah. Bibi Gaitan and all that.
Yeah.
That was going to be a point that I was...
Usurpadora, do you remember that one?
Yep.
Salome. Oh, man,
there was, what was the one with Talia Marimar? You remember Marimar? Marimar was a big one. Agujetas de color de rosa. Like...
Luz Clarita, anyone?
Luz Clarita.
You remember this one called La Mentira? It had like Vicente Fernandez in the beginning of the intro,
yeah.
But yeah, and then also my mom would just watch like she loved like India Maria, so we watched.
India Maria,
and then just going to Mexico so much, to just watch stuff over there. And then when we got another TV in my parents' room, that's when I was like, hell yeah, this is like I got an iPad or something. You know what I'm saying? And I was just watching The Simpsons all the time, or because it was always on TV, or like Malcolm in the Middle, you know, funny shows. The Larry Sanders Show would come on, and I would just watch it at night. And I always thought it was weird, but it would always make me laugh.
Yeah.
And then when we go to Mexico, The Simpsons was always on down there too.
Yeah.
It was in Spanish.
Los Simpsons.
Los Simpsons. Kind of like what it is, you know? So, and that's what made me really like jokes, I think, was that.
I got lucky too because my mom didn't give a shit. Like she would be like, oh, just watch whatever, you know, like. Because I have a friend, his parents were really Catholic, like super religious. Like they didn't let this fool watch The Simpsons, or like Married with Children.
Yeah,
like, they were big on that. You know, like don't watch it, son cochinadas. You know, like don't watch that shit. And like, but my mom was like, oh, it's fine. Like, you know, as long as you're not watching porn.
Yeah.
You know?
Honestly, I didn't think of this until more recently. Like The Simpsons did have a huge effect on, I think, my comedy and like who I am. I even played the saxophone because I love Lisa Simpson.
Yeah. Not because of bleeding gums.
No.
Bleeding gums Murphy.
They had a SpongeBob in Mexico too. El Bob Esponja.
El Bob Esponja. Yeah, that's great.
And you know, when you see that, oh, Patricio.
SpongeBob was one of those too that like I think for like more of your generation, that was like y'all Simpsons, because I remember talking to Ralph about that because he's like roughly around your age, right?
Yeah.
And he was just like, man, we just watched SpongeBob like
Man,
a lot. Him
SpongeBob
and Jaime are
is
always
funny.
funny.
Yeah. Like if those first like 4 seasons, like you'll still see clips online. For being a kid show, it is so well written.
Yeah, it's really weird and smart and like. Because I watched it as an adult, but for my generation, it was like The Simpsons.
Yeah.
It was.
I think I'm in between because I was like more Simpsons, but SpongeBob was still in my in my generation.
I watch it now, SpongeBob, but just because I watch it with my kid, and like I'm like, damn, this is some layered stuff right here. There's some funny jokes in there.
No, and there's probably a new generation that probably likes that. What's that cartoon? Adventure Time.
Adventure Time.
Yeah. There's a new generation. Like I know it's really good. I've heard people say it's really good. I just never really sat down and watched it.
The show is also very well written. Yeah, it's really funny. I wasn't a huge fan of it like when it came out because I was already like in high school.
Yeah, but there's a generation before you.
What's crazy is one of my first girlfriends that I had, she was like 4 or 5 years older than me, and she loved Adventure Time.
And this fool is dating MILFs.
I'm like, this is the second time we brought up this MILF in a week.
Was on Player Show.
The last episode, it's like she was a little older than me, you know, like 4 or 5 years older.
Well, so she would always put on Adventure Time. She's like, we're gonna watch it. So I ended up watching it with her.
Yeah,
and it's really good. Like it got to the point where I was like, I'm gonna just watch it without you.
Her.
No, not at all. She's crazy. Nah, she stole my dog. I don't know. Fuck her.
Stole your dog?
Yeah, I got him back.
But yeah, I feel like a lot of those cartoons, man, those were really. Yeah, everybody has their own Simpsons. I was such a I remember when Family Guy came out. I was like, what is this bullshit? I'm about the Simpsons, you know?
The Simpsons,
But I saw an episode, a clip. A friend brought it up. There is a clip of the Family Guy that makes me laugh. It is a funny show. They had where the dog what's the dog's name?
Brian.
He wants to be a stand-up comedian.
And
he wants to because he watches they're watching comedy and he goes, this is all dumb. Like he goes, like, why aren't we challenging people? And then he goes to an open mic and he does like smart jokes and nobody laughs.
Yeah.
And then he starts reading Stewie's Twitter. Stewie has a Twitter. And where Stewie has like 10,000 followers and he writes dumbass jokes and it kills.
Does he become like a kind of like a comic like that after? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Really?
So funny.
I think Stewie
I gotta
finds
show you
out.
guys that clip. It's so funny.
I think Stewie finds out later and he like gets mad at Brian for like stealing his material.
Oh my gosh, so funny. I was introduced to Family Guy by an older cousin of mine. I think I was like 12 years old or something. And it was funny, but I kind of had that similar sentiment, but it's not The Simpsons.
Yeah. I didn't grow
it's
up
good.
on The Simpsons, so when Family Guy came around, like that was my show.
Yeah.
We used to watch that all the time, me and my sister. I remember even before that, like you were saying about like your mom not caring about what you watched. I was watching South Park one time, and my mom just thought it was like cartoon, so she didn't care. But then she heard like one of the jokes, and she was like, "What are you watching?" But then she sat down and watched it, and she was laughing the whole time. So then we started watching it together.
Have you guys ever heard the 9/11 Seth MacFarlane story?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was supposed to be on one of the planes that hit one of the towers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
damn.
but he was in LA because one of those planes flew out from LA. He was in LA, but he got really wasted the night before, and he got a hotel room and
Oh my gosh.
woke up late for his flight and like rushed to the airport, and they wouldn't let him board. And he was like, nah. And then he was so hungover that he got a hotel right by the airport and went and knocked out. And he didn't know 9/11 had happened, and everybody thought he was on his flight, like all of his people.
my
So like they all thought he
gosh.
was on the flight. So.
That's crazy. Wow.
They said
Look at
Michael was
God.
supposed to be part of it too. Michael Jackson. That supposedly he had a meeting like in the World Trade Center that day. Or something.
Really?
Yeah.
Crazy.
How convenient for both of those.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's really
almost
look into that.
Bush warned the two of them.
Well, Family Guy, I like Family Guy. You know, the
same.
first
I like
early
it too.
seasons, but when it got canceled.
Yeah, it got canceled and then it came back.
Yeah, but there was a time where it wasn't on TV, and there was this kid in school who had a DVD.
Yeah.
and we were just passing that DVD around. Like, man, we're like, man, you need to watch this show. You need to watch this show because it wasn't like you could just go online and find episodes of Family Guy.
Yeah.
Family Guy kind of had that early thing with kind of that resurgence was from people passing around DVDs.
Yeah.
so-
Yep.
Yeah, I remember for Christmas one year I got like season 4 on DVD, and I burned the shit out of those DVDs. I was just in my room watching them constantly, and then I got like a best of episodes. It was like one of those mini DVDs that was for the PSPs, the portable. So yeah, I'd just be in my like parents' car in the back watching it on my PSP.
You were an iPad kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before iPads.
when you were talking about the like when he asked you if you went to school, like, or how do you figure it out without ever going to school, and you're just like, I just watched a shitload of TV.
Yeah.
I think that is still a version of school because the way we look at school is just this now traditional curated thing where we have to go into class.
Yeah.
The school is all the time educating.
Yeah, you just
watching
learn
something
shit.
all
You
the
soak
time.
that shit up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like even another big thing for me was like, which was like, there was a few of us at my junior high that were really into it, but we were all into Seinfeld.
Oh, Seinfeld was great too.
Man,
I
we
loved
were so
Seinfeld.
into it. And then another big thing was Conan. Late night with Conan O'Brien. And like that shit was huge because he had all these weird characters like the masturbating bear, the year 3000, the pimp robot,
The Walker
like,
Texas Ranger lever, pull it out of nowhere. Just
yeah. So it was like watching that shit was
absurd,
really like absurd and then you found out that fool was a Simpsons
Yeah,
writer.
he wrote the monorail
Yeah,
episode.
wrote the monorail episode.
One of the best
Yeah.
episodes. Like,
Dude, it was a genius.
heavily influenced by
these
Conan. Then, and he's Irish, right?
Yeah, Irish too.
He's
Boston.
Irish.
That man's
Yeah,
Irish.
He's
Just
I,
like you, dog.
Yeah, just like me. We're Irish, both of us.
Two Boston Irish.
I think like Conan, I've said this a lot, but like I think he's like top 3 funniest people to ever.
Yeah, that was funny.
He's so funny. He's smart. He went to Harvard.
Yeah.
I love Conan. I listen to like all his podcast episodes.
Yeah, he's like stupid smart. That's
Yeah.
what makes me laugh. It's like stupid funny.
He knows he's smart, but he doesn't have to be. Like he makes himself the butt of every single
Yeah,
joke.
he's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's funny. Man.
Conan was huge. Yeah, but my mom never tripped. Like I always had a friend. Like his parents were big on that. Like don't watch this shit. His parents were so big on that they didn't even let that fool dress like in like baggy clothes.
Yeah.
Like I used to take his clothes to school, and then that fool would change in the bathroom.
Oh, funny.
damn.
Yeah. That is crazy.
I had a cousin that was like that. He was never allowed to watch Simpsons, but they were really, really religious.
Yeah.
I think that was a lot of it.
Yeah. So I had friends like that too. I was raised Catholic, and I assume maybe you guys were too. But it wasn't really strict. It was like we'd go to church a lot around like communion, and then I remember going to teen mass in high school, and it was just like hanging out with your friends. You'd go to church for an hour, go hang out, discuss things, give them a little pushback, and then go home. It was a good time. But we weren't strict.
It was funny because I went to Catholic school from kindergarten to 8th grade.
Oh shit!
Yeah, and so like we had like religion class, like the church was part of the school.
You did your primera comunión, all that.
All that, yeah, first communion and confirmation. And we went to mass like 3 times a week. But what's crazy, like my parents weren't really like that strict on like church or mass or being super religion. Like when I would get home, they'd be like, yeah, well, you can do whatever you want. Yeah. And so it was always like kind of that weird, like my dad sold dope. It was like, and then he would always say like, I'm selling it for the church because he pays like so much per year for us to go to this school.
That's Catholic shit though. To be like, do something bad and be like, but it's for good.
It's not a bad time to be Catholic. Because we got that new Pope, and he's got some good tweets himself. The Catholic Church is like, should we not talk about religion?
You can go there. I didn't grow up real religious like that.
Me neither. That's why I do religion very casually, and it's gotten me into some weird
we were like casual
positions.
Catholics. We were
very.
My mom was like, do your primera comunión, do your confirmación. Like,
exactly.
You know, but my mom pretty early on was like, we don't go to church all the time because we need to work.
Okay.
Like we're broke, you know, like we need to go to work. Yeah. So like llevar like flores a la Virgen every now and then.
I always went La Virgen for us.
That's what our thing,
yeah.
And then, so they weren't like, they were casual Catholics about that shit.
Yeah, I like, my dad used to say convenient Catholics.
Yeah.
And, but my dad grew up down the street from a shrine, and it's like a thing to go to South Texas for, but that's pretty much it. But there's a shrine down there, and we were very much like pray to Mother Mary, and that's what I like about Catholicism too, because it's like there's all these other players at hand.
Yeah,
you know, I'm like, let me talk about this angel for a second
and stuff like that.
Like it's just the lore and the.
We were learning about all the saints and like what they did, what they were the patron saint of, all that stuff. We had an All Saints Day where like you would pick a saint and like dress as them and then present like the facts about that saint.
That's so funny.
Yeah, it was
just imagining kids dressed in that. Like.
No, we had I gotta find them, but we had all pictures like all dressed up as like the saints. And I would always get Saint Patrick because my middle name was Patrick. But yeah, then growing up, I felt drawn to like Saint Francis because he was like the patron saint of animals, and I love my dog a lot. You know. But yeah, my dad would always tell me, he'd be like, yeah, I sent you to Catholic school so you could learn about it. He goes, because I don't really know that much. And I was just like, all right.
It's tight. Yeah.
And we can't even call him.
And like, the only time we'd really go is when we'd be in Mexico, and it would be just to go give money or something like just go in there to pray to La Virgen or something, you know. But I got baptized in Mexico as a Catholic. I just never did anything else. And
you never did first communion?
It was kind of embarrassing too, because like a lot of my friends were Catholic, and I'd go to like church with them sometimes. And I just wouldn't know what to do when I'd be in there. I'd just be like, you know. They would like go get down and like do stuff, and I just would feel so out of place. And
I messed up my my aunt's funeral like 10 years ago. I read the wrong part at the wrong time. I was like, I don't do this like y'all do. I don't come. Why'd you assign it to me?
Well, like trips me out too when I would meet like Latinos who aren't Catholic. I'd be like, what are you? They'd be like, oh, we're Christian. I'd be like, damn, that's weird.
That's weird. And peace be with you, I guess.
And be like, oh, you fools are, like, where we grew up, we call them hermanos.
Yeah.
Los hermanos, they come knocking on your door. Like,
I have family.
That was the thing we would do, like, when the hermanos would come to our neighborhood, like, to go. Most of the time, they were Jehovah's Witnesses. But, like, that was the thing that me and my sisters would do to each other. Like, fucking my sister would be like, oh, hey, the neighbor is asking for you, and like, or the neighbor Andy's looking for you, and I go and be like, oh, fuck, it's the hermanos, and then I'm like stuck talking to them because I was kind of like a pushover, like I was kind of nice and I didn't want to be mean to them, and then I'd be like, hola hermano, and I'd be like, hola hermano.
I feel like this is probably unique to Texas, but have y'all gotten stopped for someone to like want to pray over you or just their prophesy over you? Because that's happened to me.
Oh, dude, have you seen this
in Dallas? Really? Like a couple times, and I'm very like, what you got? Like, what you got? What's the message you got for me? I'm not believing it necessarily, but I'd like to hear what God told you to come over here and tell me.
There's this guy, he films like kind of like pranks on like Instagram. He's like the Latino guy. He goes up to like señoras en el mercado, and he was like, "Señora, ¿puedo rezar con usted?" And she was like, "Okay." And he goes, "Satanás, ven."
Oh my God.
And the guy's always like, "Pero yo soy satánico." And she's like, "Yo no soy eso." And then he was like, "Oh, okay. Quiere que le quite lo mal." And then he'll go, "Satanás, quítale lo mal a la señora." Dude, I gotta show you guys that clip.
That is so funny.
I sent it to my sister. Like, kills me. And then like he'll go up to a lady in the supermarket and be like, "Oh, señora, ¿este su esposo?" And she'll be like, "Sí." She's like, "Ay, qué guapo estás." But that's Satanás going up to ladies and be like, "¿Puedo rezar con usted?"
The old Mexican ladies?
Yeah,
That's
old Latina ladies that are like,
You know
"Satanás, ven pa' acá." What killed me, dude.
And you know, she went home and prayed for him.
Oh,
Yeah.
Pray
So
for
funny.
herself, for real.
I remember growing up being told that like the Santa Maria stuff was like similar to the or not that
Santa Muerte.
yeah
Yeah.
every time I would see that like I'd get scared like, oh no, they worship the devil.
Now all the tatted up Latinas are like calling her the Santa
Yeah.
Muerte. And I know this because those are my friends.
Yeah.
They're like the aunties, like the weird aunties now.
Yeah, like now growing up, I know it's not that, but I remember the first time like somebody was like, "Can I read your tarot cards?" I was like, "Hell no! What the fuck?"
Was like pinche bruja.
Yeah.
I always laugh because when I was a kid, my little sister, she's not little anymore, but my little sister, she was, I remember her being 10. She thought, because she would always hear Jesus as Jesus, because we, like, our parents they don't speak English, you know? And then, Berrazala Jesus, or like, so my sister always thought, she goes, like, one time she told me, she goes, "Oh, is Jesus from Mexico?" Like, she thought Jesus, she thought like all that shit was from Mexico, like originally.
Yeah, that's so
I
funny.
always have to tell her, no, only the Virgen de Guadalupe is from Mexico.
She is though.
She is, yeah. No, that's
yeah.
the only one. That's the only one I would tell them.
Yeah.
That's how I knew that shit was bullshit. Like when I was growing up, like, because we didn't pray to Jesus, so we would pray to La Virgen de Guadalupe, and you know we'd go to La Mañanitas. What is it, December 12th?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, go to
Oh, yeah.
La
yeah.
Virgen, yeah.
And so we were big on La Virgen, you know, La Virgen de Guadalupe. And I remember when we went to La Basilica in Mexico City, like, you know, they have the garb that Juan Diego, like, que salió La Virgen right there, right?
Yeah.
Like where he had todas las rosas. And like, but that shit is like 75 feet in the air. And then I'm like, oh, where can I see it? And then you go, and then I remember being like 12 or 13 and being like, "Damn, I don't think that shit is real then." Like,
why do
I
you
think
go
they're
so
lying
far?
to us.
Yeah.
Like,
I went to that church with my family like
Pa una manda to the Basilica.
Yeah, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago, but we went, and I remember when we saw that, like, it was like super high up in the air, and it was almost like it was on like a conveyor belt, like you couldn't even stop to look at it. They just had you like pushing you.
They're like, move along.
Yeah. And then as soon as
binoculars, just smack them at your hand.
but then as soon as like they rush you through that, it leads to a big ass gift shop.
Yeah.
And so I remember we were back there, and my mom was like grabbing shit, and I remember being like, "Why does the church have this big of a gift shop? Like, like that's weird. That like you gotta like they have merchandise for like the Virgen."
Yeah.
Merch.
Yeah.
She got merch.
But they had everything. Like they had koozies. They were like had her on it.
Yeah.
They had like the things for the tortillas that you grab when it's hot. It was I found it weird. But I also, like I said, I grew up going to Catholic school, and it was like all white people. I think I was one of like 4 Mexicans in that school.
Yeah.
And I remember asking my teacher one time, I'm like, "How come your Mary looks different?"
Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh well, you know, they appear to you in whatever form that like is most comfortable and identifies with you.
Yeah.
That's why the Virgen Guadalupe looked that way."
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
Well, yeah.
If you believe it, though.
Yeah.
If you believe it. Yeah.
I'm like, there's because
That's the way to trick people.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. It does get tricky. That's why I'm always like, what do you have to say to me?
Yeah.
Just because I do feel like, I don't know, I'm always interested to see where people are like flowing from. If you're trying to talk about a channeled angelic message.
There's a dude in Oak Cliff. I forget what corner he's on, but he's always out there with a PA system, just yelling and preaching.
There's a lot of fools like that in LA.
Yeah.
There's like this famous Latino guy. I think he's like Salvi. The fool's always like, he carries a cross, and he's always at an intersection like in LA. And he always has his cross. He's so famous. He comes out in music videos. Yeah. People put him in shit.
I said, know who you're talking. Was he bald?
Bald. Yeah, bald. He's always wearing like a collar shirt with a tie, and like he's always with his, and he does like little dances. But he's out there for hours, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
He probably cleans up. No,
I don't know.
Is he panhandling too?
But I don't know if he. I've never seen that fool ask for money. I think he's just out there. He's for the love of the game.
Yeah, love of the game. I don't think the dude in Oak Cliff asked for money either.
Yeah,
Wait.
I think he's just out there with his PA system.
Wow. Well, I thought that was more common because I've gotten stopped like at a coffee shop, like tap tap tap.
Pray on you.
God wanted me to talk to you today, and I'm like, well, what did he say?
One time we were at DCC, and I forgot who it was. It was me, Midnight, and someone else. But somebody ordered something, and it looked good. And I always pray before I eat. And I said, damn, that looks good. Let me pray over your food. And Midnight started laughing. He's like, that's the fattest shit I ever had.
We would just do like always do this like every time before we eat.
Yeah, I don't do that, but you know what's funny? I do that when we pass a church.
Oh yeah,
or when I get on the freeway.
Yeah, sometimes too.
Yeah. I see my dad do that a lot. Yeah,
every time you get on the freeway, me persino, or on a plane.
Yeah.
And I'm not even like a believer much like that, but like mi persino on the plane, and then when it lands too, mi persino también. Like,
or cuando te dan dinero, you're like, oh yeah, gracias.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was also just because I saw my dad doing it, like stuff like that. So I guess he was pretty Catholic. He just didn't give a fuck about my soul.
I like the tradition of those. I like the ritual and tradition a little bit of Catholicism. But I'm not like, and I also love that we didn't really dig into the Bible too much.
Catholics don't get into the Bible.
It's like, what is
that's
it?
A Christian
the liturgies.
Yeah, that's a Christian thing. That's what's cool about being Catholic. It's like you can kind of pick and choose.
All Catholics are Christian.
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah, of course.
But like,
but traditional Christians, like evangelicals,
right? They're the ones that read the Bible and they memorize the verses and stuff like that. I think Catholicism is funny because like our whole thing is like, oh, well, like that dude read it. He's telling us about it. Yeah. Like we don't got to get into it that much.
Yeah, I'm not someone who's ever referenced like scripture.
Yeah,
but I'll give you a little song.
Yeah,
or we have prayers
like,
and
like feeling guilt too. It's also like like pidiendo like perdón por tus pecados. You know, it's always like.
So y'all asking those confessions and stuff like that. Yeah, y'all used to go to confessions
when I was a kid, but then by the time I think I was like 12 or 13, I was like, oh my,
you can opt out.
You told this fool I'm masturbating? Like,
I know. What are you doing back there?
Way too many sins. Like,
I remember when we started doing confessions, we were around like 13, and like everyone in my grade was like already like jerking off. And I remember we like all the guys had a meeting like, are we gonna tell the priest what we did? And all of them were like, bro, you have to. Like, God has to know.
He'll hear you.
Church was just so like, man, so boring.
Yeah.
Every time I would go to church, it was always boring.
I would say the thing about I find it so boring. It's peaceful. Like,
and for an hour, quiet. I'm good. I need a little
especially
rest.
Catholic church because there's so many like. It's so ritualistic. As it says, get down on your knees, pray. You go get la hostia. Like it's actually in the music. It's like, to me, it sounds like it's common.
Yeah.
If you go to a Thursday mass, like they don't even do like the songs.
No.
So you're in and out in like 30 minutes.
De volada.
Yeah. I remember when like I said, my parents were never like super like going to church every week or anything like that. Yeah. But I was going 3 or 4 times a week through my school. And then once my dad got out of prison, he wanted to start going every Sunday.
Yeah.
And I remember like to annoy my sister, because I would sit right next to her. Whenever we would do the songs, I would just sing them real loud. And I was like, they can't get mad at me. I'd be like, I'm singing for the Lord.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yelling in her ear to be annoying. Yeah, it's that brother shit right there. I have family members that were Jehovah's Witnesses,
Yeah.
and they would babysit us and stuff. So when we would be with them, we'd always have to go to church with them. Yeah,
we used to. You know what's funny? We had like there was some kids at our school like. They were like Jehovah's Witnesses, and we always used to make fun of those fools. We'd be like, "Oh, you can't celebrate your birthday. Y'all don't get Christmas."
A lot of the reason I watch PBS is because of those cousins, because they would always be at home and they'd be like studying or something like that, And my tia, they would always take me to the library was Jehovah's Witness, but it's because they always wanted us to be like real studious, but like they would try to throw in the light tower or whatever the
tower
was,
thing they give you.
like,
Yeah, that was.
My dad would be like, just don't pay attention to that shit. He was very like,
what is that?
Avoid religion or something kind of thing.
The tower is the little like literature they give you that the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. There's like a lot of them in LA. There's a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses in LA. They give you it's like just the pamphlet, like the stuff to read about their religion. Like it has like their Bible verses and all that.
I remember in high school. I mean, because again, I went through middle school. Everyone was Catholic. It was a Catholic school. So when I got to high school, that was my first time meeting people that like weren't Catholic.
Yeah.
And we had a kid in our grade that was a Jehovah's Witness, and I remember he got fucked up one time at some party. He was drinking, and afterwards he was like, "It's okay, I just gotta convert like 5 people, and my sins will be absolved." Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like Catholicism, right? Like Ave Maria is like when you go and then they tell you like after confession they dicen like cuántas like Ave Maria.
3 Hail Mary. Yeah. No, that was funny.
What a trip to convert people.
Yeah. Like that was their penance.
That was never like I don't feel like that was ever a real thing with Catholicism. Like now
Spreading
you gotta
the word,
go be a fisher of men.
Yeah.
I went to
not that it
because my wife, she's black, right? So she was religious. So
like
we would
Baptist?
go Baptist, and then we would go to her church, which was really fun. Not like fun, but it was pretty
lively.
It was pretty lively. Yeah,
it's because a huge part of non-Catholic churches, not all, but like good bit, or the praise and worship part, where it's just like so much singing and dancing and stomping and running.
Yeah, and also I feel like the black church was heavy on the educating their people in a different way than maybe. I didn't grow up going to Catholic to mass or anything like that, but from when I was going to her church, the preacher was like taking one little thing from the Bible and just making it, and it reminded me of comedy in a way, where you like take one thing and you just make a whole ass bit about it. But it was something to like try to educate the people, because the place we were going to was right there behind Carter. What's it called? Friendship West. It was like it's a big ass church. And it was really, I thought it was really insightful, a lot of the stuff that they were saying and things like that, and the songs and the choir. And you're just like,
that makes sense, because in Catholic church is more about reprimanding you. It's like te regañan, it's more about reprimanding.
You're lucky Jesus still loves you.
It's like he died for you. Or like go pídele a la Virgen like this, or like ask for forgiveness. It's more reprimanding.
Yeah, because during Reconstruction in America after the Civil War or whatever, and like church is really where a lot of people kind of learned how to read, and I kind of get an idea of what was happening around. And I feel like they still kind of carry a lot of that. From what I saw, there was even like a state senator or something that was there, and he was a white guy, and they were like, this man right here is pushing for this political thing, so like. I guess it was like
they're organized
the community and things like that. Which
I'd love to hear that.
There was there's this funny clip. There's like it's on the internet. It's like a viral clip. Was so funny. It was like the little black kid. He's at a church. It's like a Baptist church, and then they're like what do they call their priests, or not their priests? Preachers. Yeah, the preachers. Like, this young man wants to say something, and then he's like really mad because he has to be in church. He goes, "I hate it here," and then he like stomps away, and you see all these like older black ladies. Oh my goodness!
I always like that about that movie, "Don't Be a Menace." Because even before I went to that black church that she took me to, The only point of reference I had was "Don't be a menace." And that dude's all like, "What's he say?" He's like asking for the money or whatever.
He's like, they don't want me to have a Cadillac. He's like, they say, preacher, you already got 2 mansions.
When you get, he said, when you get a little hot and bothered, I want you to get a little hot and bothered. I want you to call me. And then he's like passing the day around. But that.
And they have a dance battle.
I haven't seen that since I was a kid.
Oh, I love that movie.
It's a great movie.
It is
Really funny movie.
My favorite ones are. Have you ever run into the Black Israelites? They like stand on the corner.
You see them in
Have you ever got one of their pamphlets and read it?
I wonder what their stances are right now.
Yeah,
I wonder where they stand on the side of history.
I don't know
Today.
because
I think they're probably because they think of themselves as the original Jews,
right?
You know, like
that's what I was wondering. Like, do they think they're Jewish, or do they just like they come from the land of Israel? Like the original one that was from the Bible, not this made up one that exists now.
That some Russian fool made up, some Polish people made up.
Because like their whole thing is, there's some Bible verse that like backs it up, where it's like the so-called blacks and Hispanics, so like they include us in it. Where it's like
that's a goofball shit.
We're
it's called the 12 tribes,
right? Like we're punished now in this life because we followed false gods, and like that's their explanation for like slavery and discrimination and stuff like that. I don't know. I think that's I don't agree or anything. I just think it's interesting that they just stand on the corner and they preach that.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah. What would you get on a soapbox for? What would
Me?
Yeah. Anything you want.
I mean, I talk about like comedy stuff. Like I think that's what stand up is. There are people getting on the soapbox and just making jokes about their life.
Me too. I think about the end of the world a lot. I'm sure you guys do, but no,
like nuclear holocaust or something.
Just like whatever. Well, yeah, and it's something to think about right now as we were talking about 9/11. Well, I mean, this stuff with Iran just happened, so. But I have been thinking, like, if all technology goes out and we don't have anywhere to go, like, surely at the end of the world, there's going to be open mics for, anyone to express anything. Yeah, say your piece, say your jokes, get your songs in.
Yeah, get it all out.
What would you say, or what would you get on a soapbox for?
Honestly, I would probably immediately tell people they need to reconnect with nature again. Like, put your feet in grass. Start there.
Yeah.
Learn how to breathe through your nose. Learn how to breathe. I don't know. Center a bit. I think I would be okay with, I think I'd be good on a end of the world team. Like, I'd be a good person to have in your village.
Yeah. You calm people down.
I think so. I'm pretty chill and like I know how to do things. I'm not and under pressure too. That's probably where I thrive the most with my ADHD. I'm like, well, we need to do this and that and that, and I can cook. And
there's this video. I'm gonna try to. I'll probably send it to you after this. Probably send it to all y'all. It was like just like a little cartoon This is animation of like when the end of the world happened. The librarians are what saved us because they're all like real knowledgeable on like. How to do certain gardening or how to just because they have the books and everything and they have an understanding of all that stuff, That's kind of what you're reminding me of is somebody who's going to be like, all right, how are we going to start at the seedling level, to regrow back up,
restart civilization.
But yeah, I don't know.
And organize.
I like nature and I know how to do stuff, but I love air conditioning like more than bro, I sweet so easy.
That's a big dude thing. Yeah.
Like that's one technology. I'm like, that's a good advancement that we made. Like,
you had to put deodorant under your titty for the podcast.
It's too hot, and I love Texas, but I love I like 50 degrees. That's my favorite temperature to be outside.
Yeah, 50.
Yeah. I like wearing a hoodie.
When I picked up Chris yesterday, he's like, man, it's so fucking hot. I'm like, yeah, dude, LA weather is amazing.
Yeah, it was really, it was like yesterday, it felt like oven heat.
Hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not even, we're not even there yet. Yes, actually, I was outside hiking yesterday. I was like, it's really nice, compared to I used to.
Yeah. That was
July, August is going to be gross.
That was going to be terrible. The other day I got out of work and I got in my truck. I was like, hey, it's not that bad today. And my truck said it was 96 degrees. And I was like, oh, wow, we're cooking if I think this feels nice,
Yeah. But you get used to it. I was one time in Arizona. I was in Phoenix. I was doing shows and it was like, man, I feel it was like 102. and somebody was like, "It's not even that bad right now." They were just,
over there for some reason. Arizona is hot. Man.
Yeah,
it's a desert.
Yeah. It's a Sonoran desert. That's why it's so hot.
That's exactly why.
But they told me, they go, 102 is not bad. You feel it when it gets to over 105 or 107. I go, it feels all the same shit to me.
Yeah,
I think this is something I thought of too that I thought was funny was whenever like weather channels have like it feels like gauge. I'm like, if it feels like that, it's why is it not that?
Yeah, that's true.
I was working on a bit similar to talking about the feels like because it was always on there, but it was more of like in relation to racism. Like, hey, there's people are saying things, but their racism actually feels like Nazi as shit right now. Kind of thing.
Mine was more like. That'd be like if you went to a restaurant and there was like, oh, it tastes like this. Oh yeah, like you order chicken, they're like, no, but it tastes like fish.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny because there's never it's always the default is it tastes like chicken.
Yeah,
that's funny.
I don't know if I feel passionate enough about anything enough to go and preach about it too much, except for being anti-capitalist, I guess, like in the sense of predatory capitalism, you know what I mean? Like, because it affects so many people.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's just like, hey, how about we, like, at least agree on that it's fucked up to have really high interest loans or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh, yeah, for sure.
Things like that will make a huge difference, you know, for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But comedy also, I just love comedy.
So, I mean, every industry is already owned by some corporation.
Yeah,
there's no new way of getting into anything, and the only way to actually make money is if you do start something is to sell it to one of those major corporations.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. Yeah, you just can't function without it. It feels like it.
Do you think that works for comedians too? Like you get famous enough and you're like, fuck it, I'm gonna just sell out to this thing, or
well, it's hard because live entertainment is all funded by corporate entities. Like it's all funded by studios or even live performance corporations like Live Nation and all these things. It's just kind of hard to escape. I mean, like that's why I feel like it feels,
I think hard to escape, but then you think of like YouTube.
Yeah.
People can be creators and independent creators and just like rack up so much monetization money that they could survive off of that without really having to bring in brands but then a lot of them are like, no, I am going to capitalize off of this and now I have an iHeartRadio podcast or I have
that's what I think.
tour.
It's it gets to a certain point where it's like, how big do you want to go with it as a person? And if you do want to continue to grow your audience and continue to do those things, then at some point you do have to like quote unquote sell out. I think it just at this point it depends on how you go about doing it. You know, it's like from being independent to having an iHeartRadio station. It's like, okay, that's not that bad. But if you're on your podcast, like pushing like pills that you know are going to fuck up people's lives just because you're going to make some money. Yeah. It's like, okay, well, that's
like
which brings me to my next sponsor.
Well, what's funny is they have one like that. They have this clip where it makes me laugh. It's like Joe Rogan is on his podcast and he's talking about how soulless like jobs are, but that's because he's fucking rich and like he's been more rich than he was like
broke.
So like because he got like a development deal when he was 24 that was like $500,000 like, so he's been more rich. But it was so funny when he said it's also so like demeaning to talk about like people having jobs as soulless. Hey, motherfucker,
as if they have
90% of your listeners have to go to work. But what made me laugh was he was going on about how soulless it is to have to work, and then the advertisement was like, hey, if you're looking for work, the best way to find like that was the real advertisement was like some kind of like Monster or like one of those like job sites. Which is so funny because I'm just like, you just got off of like
it's like he's negging people.
It was like pre-recorded, but it was just like funny where it was just
followed right after. What's up with those guys? Real rich guys always have to comment on shit like that. Like put down certain things. It's like when people put down like janitors or something like, oh, you end up like a janitor. It's like, what's wrong with being a janitor? Like, you know what I mean? Like, or what's wrong with being a trash man? Or things like that.
That's a huge like argument for why immigrants are so valuable because they do all these jobs and it's like, well, also they're just human and human life is
just like that.
Somebody sent me an AI video today of like a bunch of like Trump supporters doing immigrant jobs, like picking strawberries and cutting fruit, and I was like, they do more than that. Like the video really pissed me off. First off, it was AI.
Exactly.
Don't send me anything
Equating
AI.
them to with these like
yeah,
these blue collar jobs is just
it was similar to when Kelly Osbourne on The View was like, Donald Trump, if you deport all the immigrants, who's going to clean your toilet? And everyone on the show was like, whoa.
Yeah, an immediate ooh, and she was like, oh.
Well, she thought she was making a point.
Yeah.
It's like extra. It's like, what the fuck?
Like, sit down, ma'am.
Yeah, that's really funny. Who's gonna? What do they call that when it's not slavery? Indentured slave. Right? Yeah. Fucking my friend, he's a really funny guy. He's a comedian. His name is Mike Menendez. He has this really funny joke here. He goes, American history is really good white history, and then fucked up black history, and then Latinos we were cleaning both bathrooms.
That's crazy.
Oh,
He goes like he said something like they had to go. He goes, whites had to go to one bathroom, blacks had to, and then Latinos had the privilege of having to clean both bathrooms. Really killed me. I thought it was such a like great
privilege.
So
That's a good word
the
right there.
privilege
That's
of having to clean both bathrooms.
Oh man.
Ooh, just for, I don't know why, but yesterday I was vegging out most of the day and watched The Help.
Yeah.
Remember that movie, The Help?
I never saw it.
Yeah, I don't think I ever saw it.
Yeah. It's one of those, it's like, damn, like there's so many better black stories to be told, but some of it's about like, it starts off with this terrible white woman who has a maid. Everyone has a black maid who was formerly
a slave. Yeah.
For sure had been enslaved or probably, ancestors enslaved in Mississippi. And then this one white woman is so just the worst person ever. And she's trying to pass a bill to like have every home add a separate bathroom for the help. And it's just it's terrible. But, I do like the way the movie is.
Is that the one where they shit in the pie or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
One of the maids shits in the pie and then serves it to that woman. So that's like their insurance in the end.
What if I confuse it for American Pie? And I'm like, what is that the one where the guy's fucking the pie?
I've seen that one.
Yeah. He's like fucking the pie. And then the guy walks in and he's like, are you fucking the pie?
He's like, oh, that's the one where the girl blows him at band camp, right?
Exactly. Confused a really poignant, like culturally movie with fucking dumbass like movie like American Pie.
Yeah.
Oh, I know which one. Yeah.
Or like you don't say it, but in your mind you're just thinking about, oh yeah, the one with the fucking pie.
Yeah, the one where the homie's fucking the pie. And then his dad is that fool with the big eyebrows.
Yeah. Eugene Levy.
Yeah, Eugene Levy. Oh yeah, dude from Schitt's Creek, right?
Yeah.
They made like 4 of those movies.
All
off that one thing, dude.
And then they made spin-offs that just had his dad in them.
That's
and had none of the main characters. Yeah.
We need a Mexican remake of American Pie.
Yeah.
Flan.
I was about to say
Fucking a fly.
Mexican flan.
It's just Kane with a fly like this.
Texturally, that does sound better.
Oh my god,
I'm
it's
sure.
so funny.
I never watched American Pie.
You never watched that? Really?
Heavy on the bro stuff.
It's like old school.
It was one of
Like,
those movies where
I know what they are, and I
American
know
bro
like
movies,
the characters here and there. But yeah, I think it was just like I was like a preteen when those movies came out.
Yeah.
And
So you maybe a little too young for them.
Yeah, and I think too, I was very aware of the fact that I was not going to be a kid for long, and I really was preserving it for myself.
Yeah.
I remember one time we were talking about this. My mom overheard me and my sister watching Daria, but she was watching it, and I was kind of just like there, also watching it. But my mom came and she was like, "She can't be watching this." She's only 3 years older than me. I was like, "Yeah, some of this wasn't good for me. Let's switch it up."
Daria was funny though.
I love Daria. Yeah.
I don't think I ever saw Daria.
But there were some parts where I'm like, is this too mature for me?
Yeah.
I was a weird kid.
I get real hyper fixated on things, and I remember researching the first American Pie movie, and then watching it, and that's how I know about the spin-offs and stuff, because I was like, I gotta watch all of them now.
Yeah.
And so like for that whole week, I was like watching American Pie, watching interviews of all the cast members, like
so
reading
funny.
fun facts and stuff. This week I've been real big on like all the old school like gangster movies.
Yeah.
So like this week alone, I saw Casino, Donnie Brasco. Goodfellas, and there was a fourth one that I watched. Oh, A Bronx Tale.
Yeah.
Oh, and I saw The Godfather as well. Yeah.
Great.
So I've just
First time watching Godfather?
I started it a couple years ago and never finished it. And this is my first time finishing it now.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But
That is a good one.
yeah, I rewatched all those movies this week, and again, just like researching cast members and directors. And Francis Ford Coppola is actually going to be at Texas Theater next month doing interviews.
That's dope.
He's going to be showing Megalopolis, and then afterwards having a Q&A.
Cool.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool to go check out.
Hell yeah.
I just like, there was a scene in Donnie Brasco always tripped me out. Have you ever seen that movie?
Oh, yeah, I love it.
The scene where Michael Madsen becomes like the boss and they're playing that Pointer Sister song, that song Happiness.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking? It's like a whole montage, and then in that montage, the way he's just dancing and laughing, it was just always really funny to me. So sometimes I'll play that song, and in my mind, I'm like, I'm Michael Madsen right now. Like after I do a good show or something like it, especially if it comes on random.
Yeah. He didn't convince me as like the boss of a mob. I didn't feel like drawn. I was like, I wasn't like, oh, Michael Madsen's that guy. Like Al Pacino was, he's been that in so many roles that like watching him be like an underling, I was like, I don't like this.
Yeah. He played it good though. I thought he did good in that one.
My Michael Madsen, when I think of him song is Stuck in the Middle with You from Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
I also like that part in Kill Bill where, y'all seen that one, Kill Bill 2, where like they give him all that money because they thought he killed her.
Yeah.
And the way he just opens it up and sees all the cash, and the way he just starts laughing, like,
Yeah.
That's great.
but yeah, we need to be wrapping it up. I know that we talked about a lot from, the help to fucking pies,
Yeah.
Which is the whole point of this podcast, really. Yeah. I really don't know what the point is of anything, but
that's
I
the
do know
wisdom you are
some,
imparting.
We
today.
got some shows coming up, and so it's always good to promo, and shout out to Dow Chemical, our sponsor. And do you have anything you want to plug or anything, bro?
Follow me on Instagram.
Yeah.
At Chris Estrada
Chris
Comedy.
Estrada. All right, cool. Y'all got anything?
No, I have a show in Austin in a week or so. Week and a half. I'll be at the Buzzkill at the Buzzmill. So that'll be fun. You can also follow me at Combo Loca.
Oh yeah.
And me and King got some shows together, right?
Yeah.
July 3rd, Tyler. The link will be in the bio. And just, follow Chris, Lily, Kane. And thank y'all for listening.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks for coming on the
Thanks
show.
so much.
Bye.